FSM bill to have 4 seats in Congress just for women. I think Sammy has the actual bill.
I can read the proposition.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes to propose an amendment to the Constitution of the Federated States of Micronesia for the purpose of guaranteeing the representation of women in Congress by creating, as a temporary special measure, additional seats in Congress and for other purposes. This is Bill 20-116.
Right, seeing as we have 2 women here with us today, I want to hear from them first. So.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's so many things to say about this. Like, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, just you reading how the bill is worded, that already setting off all these triggers for me, because it aims to guarantee something, and at the same time, and it's in the same sentence, in the same breath, it's kind of doing the exact opposite thing. Yeah. And it's really muddying a lot of issues that they need to be separated and identified, I think. Well, I feel like I need to do that, because I think it's clear that people are not really understanding how, where it's wrong. There's so many areas where it's wrong, I feel, in my opinion.
I'm curious about what temporary special measure means.
Right.
Is that a particular
I don't know, that's a good question. It's like...
They'll probably outline
the
term, the limit, the term, maybe not term, but how long that this specific...
Right, yeah.
Once it's enacted, how long it'll last.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it's not going to be like 4
like
seats in perpetuity.
Right, yeah.
I feel like they're doing it to try to inject some diversity in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's not
immediate. Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, but there's some specifics here. Let me just read some specifics that people objected to. So it also reads 1 female member elected at large from each state. So that means that the entire state has to vote for that one seat for each state. So 1 seat per state. And it also, instead of having the regular 4-year term, it'll be 2-year terms for at-large seats.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So a lot of people didn't like that.
Oh,
they were like,
there's one more other thing that's added, right? Like, they can't vote; they're allowed to sit in on committees.
So they can, they can't vote. They don't have voting power.
Yeah.
But they can sit on as you said, they can sit on committees. They can talk.
Yeah.
So this is kind of
they can be there, but they can't.
Yeah.
They don't have any agency, and so where's that representation?
That kind of ceremonial position.
Right. Yeah. So maybe those 4 things are temporary, maybe, but we don't know yet, because they haven't explained what they mean by temporary special measures.
Do you guys think this is the way we're supposed to be getting women to be in?
Hell no, this is not the way. And I really doubt that the person who came up with this probably didn't consult very many women, because it's not...
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, yeah.
Like, if you're trying to help a certain group of people, the right thing you should do is ask them how is the best way to help you, not this is going to help you. Like,
could just be they're trying to gauge the public on this thing too. Can't necessarily say this. I'm totally for this.
It's also worth noting that this isn't the first time a bill like this popped up.
Oh, really?
This is actually like the 4th. So there was another one in the early 90s, I believe, and then recently, maybe 2-3 years ago, and then maybe 5 years before that. So there have been different versions of this bill, but it's always been the same. To grant women 4 seats just for women. Yeah.
And I bet it's all been ideas generated primarily by men.
Well, yes, because all throughout throughout FSM's years, it's always been men in Congress.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can just jump to the poll that you put out.
Yes.
That was really interesting, because if I could see it and read it, like the different options that you gave to people, it was really interesting, because I found myself conflicting. Like, you would say agree. So like the first one, say agree, women need congressional representation, 100% agreed. Next one, disagree, What does that say?
This gender or sex shouldn't be a qualification for Congress.
And I agree with that 100%, okay? Yeah. But the point, I think, is that is the case. Mm-hmm. You just said it yourself. Up until now, it's always been men in Congress. Right, yeah. And it's kind of this unsaid gender qualifier already. You have to be male in order to reach these upper echelons of government. How do you say that?
The other thing is, like, if you have this, if it passes, does that mean that the other 14 seats are just for men? You know what I mean? Like, it's without saying it, it's like we're implying that, oh, why are you running for those seats? You know, we made you a seat. It'd be like a guilty
little loophole there.
This is, I don't think any self-respecting woman would think, like, I want to have special favors so that I can achieve something. I think all we want is a level playing field and, like, equal chance, you know. If a person says, I want to run for something, then someone's not going to be like, this will never happen because you're a woman.
You're thinking right now, already it's not equal, like they don't have a chance to.
Okay. Yes.
That's a good question.
Yes, and I will ask you guys as well your personal opinions. Do you not think this is the way? I think in Pohnpei it's a bit different. But let's talk about Kosrae. I don't know about Chuuk. I don't know about Yap either. But I don't see women in government, and coming from my personal stories, I have been told point blank that I would never be able to make it higher said that? Because I'm a female. Okay. And it's ridiculous to me.
Someone told you that?
Yes, someone told me that. Wow. And it's not just me. I'm sure it doesn't even have to really be said. That's just the way our culture is. So what I would instead have proposed is that exact thing that you said, that gender should not be a qualification for any kind of government position. That should be written into the Constitution instead, because that would protect everybody, both men and women. Although I think you would agree, if that were to be written, who would benefit the most? It wouldn't be men, because that's just kind of the status quo as it is. It would be women. It would be girls. It would be people who have not been able to do that. Yeah.
Before we move on, I just want to say the poll's still out there, so people can still vote. We'll have the link on the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, are we moving on?
No. I just wanted to throw that in there
before you forget.
Before I forget. I'm sorry.
Could I see the poll again too?
Sure.
And I find it so ironic that so many people voted for that, and yet you don't see like
the earlier poll. I accidentally deleted it, so this is the second version. Okay. I'm sorry. This is my fault.
No.
But yeah, it's still the same outcome though.
Yeah.
56% voted for the disagree gender shouldn't be a qualification.
Yeah, and I really agree with that as well. And I also, if we're talking about like an ideal government, ideal society, I do not think government should be so powerful that they should be determining how people think and how they feel. Like, if you want to be sexist, go ahead and be sexist, but unfortunately, like that has no place in government. And in our case, something definitely needs to be done.
It's hard. It's really hard. You know, with the Me Too movement going on here, that's not doing anything. Like, it's not. It hasn't moved to back home at all, and I don't think it will.
Oh gosh! Thank you for bringing that up too. See, if you had asked women, how can we help you? It would be stuff like that. I almost swore. It would be stuff like that. It'd be protecting girls and women from like domestic violence, from sexual harassment. I'm using these like Western terms, but I think any girl could totally identify with me. You know, you've been there with that creepy uncle, with that disgusting, like, lecherous person of power who looked at you gross and made you feel gross. Like, I feel you. This is how it is. This is a reality for many of us. And I'm like coming from a place of privilege, you know, and it's happened to me. I can't even imagine what it's like for other girls who are less vocal. And
there is that program in the Marshals where they're offering help to women who have been abused. Yeah, dude. I think they had 14 women come in.
Yeah.
I know that you're talking about the Marshals, though. I wish we had someone from the Marshals here, because they have a female president.
Exactly.
Right.
They have women in their Senate. So what's the difference in our government?
What's going on over there?
Yeah. What in the culture the political culture at least.
As far as I know, I think there's one lady in Pohnpei's state government, and then there's, I think, 2 over in Chuuk. I can only name Cartenia, but I don't know. I think there's another one, yeah. But that's it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It is.
Trailblazers.
And, like, I am so sure that it will continue to develop, and I don't think we need something like this to prove that we belong up there. Like, I remember somebody saying in the comments that, you know, if there were a qualified person, for sure they would endorse them. There are so many qualified women out there. They just have never been allowed to. And it's not like it has to be said you're not allowed to. It's just kind of like this unsaid, unspoken, this is the way it is. So if instead they wanted to make a bill that would try to improve representation of women, enter in something like that. That exact same, the wording I like, the wording that you use, I really like. That gender should not be any
qualifier.
Yeah, exactly. And so that if a woman or a young girl decided that they wanted to pursue, and someone treated them that way because they were like they were sexist themselves, they could cite the Constitution and be like, I'm gonna sue you. You can't do that to me. Yeah, I think that's probably a better way to do it. And maybe there are other ways to do it, but you should probably consult women about it.
It's interesting because you can frame this as them trying to be inclusive, and at the same time, this is sexist also.
It totally is.
But you have to imagine, do they know what they're doing? Like, or did they just do this? I'll give them a hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Throw them a bone.
Yeah. Like, how did they, like, what was the intention behind this, you know?
I feel like they felt like they had to add in that little thing to appease the sexist people who would be like, I don't agree with this. But, you know, it's really unfair because you cannot agree with it and not be sexist. Like, I don't agree with this. But, I mean, at the same time, it's like, I'm shooting myself in the foot because we're maybe given this opportunity. I don't want to lose my woman card and be like, no, I won't take this.
Because I think the main thing is that they would be sitting on committees, right?
Right.
And then they would be talking and weighing on. But then there's that whole stuff that's like,
without those other 3 things, like the 2-year terms and no voting power, right? Before I read that, just the proposition alone, I was like, this is interesting, and I agreed with it. But then, sorry.
Oh no! It's a really complicated. Like I went through cycles of thinking it was a good thing. And
the no voting part, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
They're, it's like, I don't know. It's it's like pageantry, you know.
It is.
Like, here's your seat. Like, just let us do the.
Like they're using the word representation in like its second definition in the dictionary, where it's not like, or it means like it's a representation of something and not the actual thing.
That's good.
That's what I felt like. Oh, sneaky lawyers writing it that way. It's true. It is a representation. I know.
There are 3 comments here. Let me just read them out. That was on the poll. One, they're all anonymous. So one said, well intended, but discriminatory on its face.
Yeah.
Can accomplish goal by other means. Yeah.
Yes.
Another one is, I think we should fight to preserve our cultural values that empower our being. And then the last one is, my region should vote for people who are capable.
I agree with all of those.
Yeah. I think I know who wrote one of those. Yeah. But yeah, it's touchy.
It's really. It can get really messy, man.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I don't know any woman that agrees with this. Like, I've talked to some of my relatives, some of my friends from back home, and then they're like, "This is bullshit."
And you can imagine those people that are just like, "Well, if a woman could run, why isn't there one already?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really tough.
That's a good point, Russell.
I don't know. I was talking with Diliaur about it. Like, how do you even begin to encompass all the reasons why women like feel like they aren't allowed to run for these positions? Like, and I guess part of me is like, maybe we should just suck it up and face whatever we need to face to overcome these things. But that is not fair. Like, do guys need to face these things when they decide that they want to run for a seat? So, like the thing I said about my relative who told me that would never happen and they laughed at me. If I were a guy and if I had expressed a desire to pursue government, I do believe I would have been encouraged 100%, and it would have been fostered, and I definitely would have been laughed at for no other reason than the fact that I have an X chromosome instead of a Y chromosome, and I was born with milk bags and a thingy instead of, another thingy. It's ridiculous to me.
Ugh.
And I think it is to you guys, to be fair. Like, you guys, I think, are totally, to your credit, like, it makes sense to you guys, too. But the problem is there's so many other people who just don't.
But let me ask you this way. Going back to the temporary special measure. What if this was only for 2 years? And then after 2 years, we talk about it again and see how it went, how the 2 years went. Would you be more open to that?
Well, they should put that in the original measure.
Yeah.
Like provisional.
If they put that in there, what do you guys think? Would you be more in favor?
Well,
a
still
non-voting 2 years.
No.
I don't know.
Still no.
I think the mixed feelings are so much because of, like, basically it's like a bone thrown by the system.
Consolation prize.
Yeah, it's the consolation prize, and so it's like we see
place.
this as like, oh, maybe this is like our first chance in a while, even though apparently 3 other times it has not passed, or similar measures have not passed for whatever reason. But then, to settle for something like that.
Yeah, and like, just to be really clear, if your question is if you were to change the voting option,
what would you change? What would you change in this bill to make it something that you would agree with?
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
If the question were allowing people to vote, if that would make it better, then the answer is yes, it would make it better. But is that the solution? I don't think that's the solution.
That would be sexist.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's gonna solve like the underlying problems that prevent women from doing
I think that's the core of it.
Things.
Yeah.
That is definitely it. Yeah.
So does the government need to figure out a way to get women in, or?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think making it in the Constitution where you can't discriminate based on gender would help countless.
I think it's in there.
It's probably in there.
Yeah.
Is it really?
I don't know.
It's one of those, like, if it's not written,
Are you sure?
and then just look at this other people's.
Because, in the United States Constitution, it wasn't in there for the longest time.
Well, yeah, but I think we follow whatever the U.S. if it's not written in ours, we usually refer to the U.S.
The interesting thing is also, I believe in our Constitution it says that culture should be taken into account in everything, right? So, is it in our culture to discriminate against women?
Yes.
But it's also interesting because, like, our culture is always changing. So,
yes.
What does that mean?
Which culture are we trying to preserve?
Exactly. And which culture, like in the FSM, are we looking at? You know what I mean? Because if you go to Chuuk alone, there's like a medley of different cultures. So which one do you look at?
Which Chuuks?
Yeah.
True.
But it's complicating. It's interesting.
Is there an FSM culture? As a national culture?
Ugh.
An amalgamation.
Yeah.
That's
Or
the
like
thing too.
There is. There
I feel
has
like
to
there
be.
is.
It exists. We exist, so there has to be.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we should move on to our next topic.
Unless you guys have
Yeah.
like one last thing, like one final jab.
I just wanted to point out that that particular thing, I can't remember what it is, but that really is, like, you hit the nail on the head.
The one of the options in the poll?
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to read it? Gender as a
Sure.
qualifier?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a qualifier?
No, it shouldn't be. And I think women would agree with that as well. And if that were made clear, it would benefit women.
To be fair, I didn't write that option. I think it was, I can't remember who. I didn't put that in originally.
Yeah, I think so. I think people already agree with that. They just don't realize that it's already.
I'm sorry to whoever gave me that option.
Oh.
I just realized now that I didn't write that in there. Yeah, someone gave me that option. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's just ironic because I don't think people realize that there's already a gender that is a qualifier. and it is the male gender, and it's always been that way since the inception of the country, and it remains to be that way from what I've seen, at least in Congress. And
there's a bigger discussion here. It's
Yeah.
about it does lead into culture, right? It leads into how women have been, their roles, the role that women have played in culture, and how it's changed, and or how it hasn't changed.
Let's talk about colonization.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to go into, because like I remember asking someone about this, and then they said they're totally against it, the same thoughts that you have. And then I asked them, well, then are you against the culture, like our culture of women have to be second, women have to be respectful to men? And it's like, no, that's different. It's like, how is it different? And then it's like, because, and then she couldn't really give me an answer.
Oh, she.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah. He. No.
They.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it's when it comes to politics, right? It's easy to debate about ideas in politics because it's something that was introduced to us. But when it comes to culture, there's always that one person that says you shouldn't be talking about it because it's not your place. Because that's also part of the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True,
Especially as people who are not considered elders, you know? So maybe that's where she was coming from. Like she could openly talk about this bill, but then when I asked her about, so why can't you apply that same idea to how we treat women based on our culture? It's like, oh, that's different. We can't really talk about that. You know, it's different.
I think that's what I was trying to get at about the
Yeah.
government trying to. Is this something that the government should be trying to get at? Or is
Yeah,
this something good?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.